Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word Live and to our Belgian Grand Prix race debrief. What do we reckon to that one then, guys? A lot of you not happy with that at all in terms of a show and spectacle. We bigged it up, didn't we, before it all got going in the pre-race, but never mind. It happens in Formula One. It's the way it goes sometimes, but we will be talking a lot more about that. There's a fair whack to talk about, certainly from the start of the Grand Prix to get us all kicked off, of course. We're going to be joined by Jonty tonight, and Ellie will be making her debut. We've sorted out those technical issues from last week, so she will be with us. But before we go any further, let's get all the housekeeping out of the way. You can, of course, follow me on social media. Links to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Discord, as ever, are all in the description down below. Don't forget to check out our channel partners. We've got Overtake Outfits down there and Black Wolf as well. All links are in that place. You can support the stream through Streamlabs and over on Patreon as well, plus the Super Chat here on YouTube. When that comes to Q&A, that's the only way I can guarantee I can get to everyone's questions. That's not me bribing you at all. That is just the only way I can do it because we get so many. And finally, of course, don't forget to drop a like on this stream towards the end if you've enjoyed it. And also check out subscribing to this channel and also Ellie's channel at Formula Incident and Jonty's as well. Links are all in the description. All of that's out of the way. Now let's get on to what you're all here for. Yes, it is time to have a look at this race result. It was, yeah, all right. It wasn't an amazing race, was it, if we're being totally honest? But Sebastian Vettel did take victory for Ferrari ahead of Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes. Quite a comfortable one in the end, I think it's fair to say. Some interesting comments from Lewis Hamilton after the Grand Prix, which we'll try and get to. A lot to talk about. As I say, we'll undoubtedly talk about them throughout it. Max Verstappen, really good recovery from 7th place to 3rd. Not quite as good a recovery as Valtteri Bottas from 17th to 4th. Kind of where I predicted he'd get to, actually. So it was nice to get something right for a change. A fantastic end to what's been a mixed weekend for Force India. They didn't really exist as they are now on Thursday, but they do now. They got themselves 5th and 6th, move up to 9th in the Constructors with 18 points. Fantastic end to the weekend for them and a great story there. Grosjean and Magnussen, 7th for Grosjean, 8th for Magnussen. Good weekend for Haas after looking a little bit weak and slow on Friday, but they definitely managed to deliver today, and that's awesome for them. Another great drive from Pierre Gasly, a man, of course, moving to Red Bull next year. 9th place for him and Toro Rosso, and Marcus Ericsson grabbed 1 point for Sauber in what was a pretty decent drive from the Swede. Really impressed with him, and of course Discord will be loving that. And it was a great scrap as well throughout the race. A couple of great squabbles between Gasly and Hartley, between Ericsson and Hartley. Carlos Sainz in 11th place. Really disappointing weekend for the majority of Renault-powered cars if you remove Max Verstappen from it. Sergei Sorokin in 12th, looked on for a point at one point in the Grand Prix, so pretty good weekend for him. I think he'll be happy with that. Yes, of course, there's been retirements ahead of him, but he was pretty good and solid throughout that Grand Prix. Lance Stroll as well in 13th place for Williams. Not bad for him. Is it his last race for them? Possibly, if you listen to the rumours. Brendan Hartley, really happy for him yesterday. Not quite so impressed with him today. I think he's disappointed, if I'm being totally honest about that one. But, he kept it out the wall, which is all that I think Franz Tost was asking for him to do. So, he'll get there. And Stoffel Van Dorn, miserable weekend for him. Miserable weekend for McLaren in 15th place. Your retirements list for the Belgian Grand Prix is Daniel Ricciardo. He retired after getting involved in the first lap incident. He was then sent back out again they repaired his rear wing, sent it back out again, but towards the end of the race they decided to retire him because he wasn't really getting anywhere. Kimi Raikkonen, he had his issues after a puncture, and then Charles Leclerc, Fernando Alonso and Nico Hülkenberg were all eliminated following a huge first corner accident. But before we get onto that one, let's start things off by saying, as it's not in stream mode, a very good evening to Jonty. What did you reckon to that race, mate? Not a belter.
Not brilliant, but it certainly wasn't as bad as Canada, so that's a positive.
You've got to take your positives where you can get them, really, can't you? I mean, yeah, well, we're going to talk more about the race, obviously, in just a moment. And we're also going to say a very good evening and a welcome to the F1 Word stream team. Hello, Ellie.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
No worries. Thank you for coming on. I'm just glad we've got all those technical issues sorted so we could get you on this week. But first impressions of that race, a little bit disappointed given all the hype around it after qualifying?
Absolutely. I thought it was a really boring race.
Say what you think, Ellie, why don't you? It wasn't great, was it, if we're being totally honest? But there is really only one place we can start, if we're being totally honest, and that is that first... What a picture that is, sorry. That first corner incident, a huge crash between Fernando Alonso, Charles Leclerc and Nico Hülkenberg at time of, well, as of right now, we're live for God's sake, Sean, but as of right now, there's no word on whether Nico Hülkenberg has been penalised, but he has taken full responsibility for that incident. I've got Twitter open and keeping an eye on it. But John T, if he's taken full responsibility for that, he's going to take some kind of penalty because that was an extremely dangerous incident.
Yeah, very much so. It's so similar to 2012, and we know what happened to Grosjean with that. There are other circumstances, but it's a tricky one.
It's quite rare, isn't it? I mean, Hülkenberg's made his mistakes in the past, of course, Ellie, but it's not like him to make such a huge misjudgment that's caused an incident like that. So do you think maybe the stewards might take that into account and maybe be a little bit more lenient, for want of a better term, on him?
I think so, but there's a lot of rumours around him having a brake issue, which seems the most logical thing to say, because it just was really weird how it happened. And I think if you are looking at it, he doesn't make mistakes like that often, whereas Grosjean in that year, he was making a lot of mistakes. So it could go either way.
It's just actually broken over on Twitter that Nico Hülkenberg has been given a 10-place grid penalty for the Italian Grand Prix. Thank you very much, race fans, for that cropping up on my timeline there. Do you think that's fair, John T?
It probably is, yeah, because it's a massive, massive incident. And whilst they do say they shouldn't be taking previous incidents into account, the chances are that they do think about them, which is what led to Grosjean's ban. So it's probably fair.
I was actually chatting in Discord before we went live with a couple of people from the mods and kind of said what Ellie said there, that, you know, with Grosjean in 2012, when he got the race ban, that was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, whereas Nico Hülkenberg doesn't do this every other weekend like Grosjean was at the time. So I can understand the cause for a race ban, if I'm being honest, because it's a huge accident, as you said, John T, very reminiscent of 2012. But the incident itself, I mean, he's taken full responsibility and said there wasn't an issue. But it's like Ellie just said there, when you think of Nico Hülkenberg, you don't kind of expect these incidents from him, do you? But it was just a huge lock-up into turn one, straight into the back of the Fernando Alonso. He then ends up airborne over Charles Leclerc. Massive accident. You can see it in the picture there, just such a mess. And, you know, I think a race ban would probably be a bit much for Nico Hülkenberg, unless, like you said, Ellie, it was every weekend that he was doing this.
Yeah, I think it's fair that he's had the 10 place. Obviously, I'm just tweeting about it now, but you know, it's. I thought it would be a lot less in a way, and I think he's probably got some penalty points as well. But Grosjean was accident prone, and Hülkenberg's just not. He goes about his weekends usually quite quietly and gets the points for Renault, who obviously he's got loads of points for, and they're in fourth.
Yeah, that's a great. I think we're all kind of agreeing, aren't we, that the Grosjean ban was more to do with one incident too many, whereas this isn't very Hülkenberg. But I think I'm just going to have a look for penalty points. I think he probably has done because it was a huge crash. But there's been a lot of debate. Are you ready, John T? Over the halo and what impact this is, or for want of a better term, impact this had on the incident, because it looks at first sight as though the halo has absolutely done its job. And then a lot of people on Twitter who either don't look at things properly or choose not to look at things properly or are blinded by hate for the halo can't see that it quite clearly resulted in Alonso's car not hitting some part of Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, when it first happened, you couldn't really see anything at full speed. Then they started with the replays, which were again at full speed, and it looked as if, you know, it might have deflected the car a little, but you couldn't really tell that it's made that much of a difference until they released the slow-mo shots. And then you can see the rotational motion of Alonso's car as Leclerc's car is still travelling forward. That wheel was on a perfect collision course for Leclerc's face. It really is. Without that halo, Leclerc would be in danger of death.
And that's the thing, isn't it? You know, we can argue about how it looks all you like at the end of the day, but it's there to save lives. And, you know, it's such a difficult topic to approach in some respects, because people don't like that you defend the halo, but it's absolutely done its job. But a lot of people saying, well, that's all it's done. All it's done is its job. Well, you know, what are people wanting? It to do its job and then go off and write an 8-minute symphony? I don't understand what the point is. It's done its job, which it's there to do. All right, it's done no more than its job, but what else are we expecting it to do? I mean, Do you agree, Ellie, that the halo has prevented serious injury to Charles Leclerc there?
Yeah, I tweeted it straight away. I was like, that was Halo right there, saving somebody's life, whether you want to admit it or not. That's literally probably saved Leclerc's life right there. You can look at the marks from the pictures of the marks on. It's like it helped, and it was the thing. Otherwise, that tyre would have hit his head, and we don't know what we'd be experiencing right now if we didn't have that Halo. I hate to say it'd be as serious as, look at Robert Wiggins last week. They hadn't have had that catch fencing. Would we be seeing a different thing for him? Probably.
This is it. It's all about safety, and it's the evolution of it, isn't it? And the Halo is the next stop. And, I can't believe we're having this debate again, but obviously we're having to have this debate because it has saved somebody today. And trying to word how I want to say this without upsetting too many people, but then realising I am on the F1 word, so I can kind of upset as many as I want. But the point is, it has saved Charles Leclerc from serious injury. That car, you only have to look, as you said, Ellie, at the damage on that car to see the trajectory that the car is actually taking and the wheel is taking. That is rubber. That is tyre rubber. Ted Kravitz confirmed it in his pit walk, or his whatever he calls it, paddock walk or whatever, that is a tyre mark. There's damage to the side of the car and the side pod. It's lost the winglet. You can quite clearly see, as you said, Jonty, that is heading towards his head. So it's done its job. What is there really to debate over this anymore? All right, it's ugly, but so what? It's saved a guy's life.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people are saying, oh, you look at the shots afterwards, the tyre marks are well away from his head, but forgetting, that's the direction the wheel was travelling. If you take a straight line, the shot that's on the screen right now, the middle of that tyre mark, it was travelling in a straight line towards the seat. So that's it. That's where his head is.
Yeah. And it's when you look at the replays, ignore all the data, ignore looking at too much. The fact is, and this is where it's kind of different to I guess in a way, the Makino Fukuzumi one that we had earlier in the year. There was definitely a bounce off one car. You could see that. But with this one, you could see very clearly that there was a big bounce. As soon as Alonso hits that, he bounces off. And that Halo has done exactly what it needed to do. So, for me, and I've always said this, Ellie, I ranted about it when it was first announced. I was one of those that was not happy about it, felt that it was disgusting, it shouldn't be on the car. But I always said, and I said it in my updated Halo video, if it saves one life, it doesn't matter. It's done everything we need it to do. And that's the case here. So are you kind of debate closed on this one, like I'm saying here? That's it, surely?
Yeah, I'm totally closed on the debate. At the end of it, I wasn't a big fan of it when I first saw it. I didn't think it's going to do anything, and I just thought it really was awful to the car aesthetically. But it saved at least one life here, and two if you count F2. So I think the debate should be shut now. We have to have the Halo. It's that simple.
Yeah, and as Mine's Co2 says in chat, he's sort of quoting the tyre marks are way away from his head. I don't know if he's talking to somebody else in chat, but he's then gone to say, that's the goddamn point of the Halo. That's it, isn't it? Yes, the tyre marks are on the Halo, and it's all right saying, well, it wasn't going to hit his head. Look where the tyre marks are. They're on the Halo. Because the Halo's there. If the Halo wasn't there, they'd be on his helmet. And I think Martin Brundle said, actually, Jonty, going back and, who had 90 minutes before we start talking about the good old days again, but back in there, you were always seeing drivers with tyre marks on their helmets when they've been in incidents. Martin Brundle, Eddie Irvine and Jos Verstappen is one that really springs to mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And even earlier in Brundle's career, when he had a coming together with Senna, he couldn't get out of his car until they lifted Senna's car off his shoulders. This does happen. It happens a lot, and that stopped it. I would just point out, people worrying saying that you can see that it's cracked and smashed. It does have just a carbon fibre aerodynamic sleeving over it. It's a titanium core. I promise you it's not cracked.
Yeah, it's just like the outer shell, isn't it, that's just been cracked on there and damaged what it's supposed to do, carbon fibre to break. But I'm going to leave it there on the Halo debate because I don't see the point in sitting and going over and just saying the same thing. And, there's some talking, do we go as far as closed cockpits? It probably will end up there. I don't think it needs to. But I mean, if we ignore that, aesthetically, there needs to be changes. And the FIA have already said there will be changes. This is the first step in head protection. It's first year that it's been introduced. It's already proving its case. If they then make it more aesthetically pleasing, it should start shutting people up. But at the same time, I can understand why people don't like it. And the one argument I can never get on board with, though, is that F1 is always dangerous, so they know the risks. Yes, they do know the risks, but that doesn't mean that their life should be put on the line. I know the risks every time I get in my car. Not quite at the same speed, but I still get in that car. But anyway, that's a debate for another day. Let's talk about the race winner then, Sebastian Vettel today. Really solid. I mean, I was quite impressed with him, Jonty, because we knew the Ferrari was quick in the dry. He's then gone out there, overtaken Lewis Hamilton on that first lap just before the safety car came out, and controlled it perfectly. You know, he kept, all right, the gap was only 3 or 4 seconds through that first stint, but it always felt to me, and I said it during the watch-along, like he was just managing that gap and getting those tyres as far as he could, ready to just react to when Hamilton pitted.
This is a tricky one, because a lot of people are going to dislike what I'm going to say here, but Lewis bottled it.
You think he bottled it?
On that restart, he absolutely bottled it. He had the run on him. He had the line. That move was going to be done. All he had to do was beat him on the brakes, and he bottled the braking. You never see that, but it happened today.
Oh, into the bus stop on the restart?
Yeah.
Is that where's the first? I couldn't remember where the first safety car line was for the. I didn't know if it was before or after, and that's maybe why he backed out. That's what I'm saying on the watch along.
Yeah, that's what I'm unsure on. But even so, if that's the case, that means he got his run on the restart completely wrong. And one thing he's been superb on this year, and usually is, was restarts. He's always been good at that. Forgetting Baku last year, but I still don't think he did anything wrong there. And he got it completely wrong.
I did expect, if I'm being honest, Ellie, that on that restart, to see the two side by side on the Kemmel Straight again. I thought Lewis would have got a run similar to that Vettel got on the first lap. I expected him to really go for it, but I think Vettel aced that restart. I think his timing was spot on. Obviously, his tyres were perfect. It was temperature, and he took control of that situation.
I write race notes, and one thing I agree with John T on is I wrote Hamilton bottled it, and I don't mean to upset anyone. I thought they were going to be side to side, and I thought, oh my God, we're going to get this battle again that we got last year, and it just didn't come. And I was just waiting for it, and that's what I thought would make the race, and it didn't. And Vettel just seemed to be, from there onwards, just absolutely brilliant.
He controlled it well, though. Yeah, absolutely. Vettel controlled it perfectly. And after the first pit stops, or the only pit stops as it turned out, unfortunately, in the race, he stretched that lead to, what was it, about 11 seconds at the end of the race, Ellie. He just kind of aced it that second half of the race and took control. And he's quite confident now going into the second half of the season that Ferrari are going to be the team to beat. And Lewis Hamilton after the race saying that he expects that Ferrari are the team to beat as well, and they may be losing out a lot more between now and the end of the season. So this is a big step for Vettel in the World Championship. Last year he was falling away at this stage, wasn't he? Hamilton got the momentum after the summer break, and Vettel's come out fighting, and we could see a sort of the reverse story to last year.
I think the only way now Ferrari will lose this championship is if Vettel does what he did last year and crashes. It doesn't matter if it's just one race. And if Ferrari do it the same as well, where they lose reliability, which is possible, that is the only thing that can stop them. We know Mercedes are good for reliability. Lewis Hamilton's way too cautious to crash. I think, touch wood, he won't crash. I mean, who cares? But that is the only way I see this championship going in Hamilton's favour now.
You think Ferrari are that comfortable in terms of pace?
Yeah, I really think they are. I think they're going to be very close together. I think they are very close. I think both Mercedes and Ferrari are very close. I just think Ferrari are edging them slightly. And I think the way they will have to lose, I think it'll go down to Abu Dhabi, but I think the way they will lose this is if it's a crash or retirements. That is the only way I see this happening now.
17-point lead, John T. It's nothing in Formula One, but the way this season has been going, there's 8 races to go. There's still plenty of time for a few more twists and turns yet, isn't there? But Ferrari are looking strong.
Oh, yeah. I mean, with me, yes, I may have called out Hamilton on the restart, but the Ferrari was clearly a much better car today. I mean, quite dramatically so. Vettel just eased away once they got going again. And there was no answer that the Mercedes had at all. And the Mercedes wasn't particularly quick overall. I mean, we were seeing at the start with Bottas trying to come back through. Yes, he may have had some damage as a result of the puncture, but he took ages to really start getting going. I mean, we got up to lap 12, and he only made his way up to 12th. And there was 3 cars that started in front of him that were out. That's not the pace we were expecting.
No, not at all. I mean, it was an odd one today. And, Bottas and Kimi expected more almost. I mean, Bottas, like you say, the pace, not what we were expecting. Same with Kimi as well. But Bottas to 4th place, I find it hard in many ways not to go around and say he's driver of the day, but I expected Bottas to 4th place, and I expected Kimi Räikkönen on that podium. So to say neither there, and like you say, he may have had damage from the puncture, Räikkönen, it was surprising because I still thought that the pace of those 2 cars, kind of what you were saying there, Jonty, you would expect to see them up there.
Yeah, you certainly would expect to see them up there, but it's just the amount of time it took Bottas to get there. It was really, really surprising. I mean, yes, obviously he's 6th may have been more realistic if Ricciardo and Raikkonen hadn't dropped out. But it just hasn't been that quick a car compared to the Ferrari. Obviously, it's been quicker than everyone else. But overall, it's certainly not the dominant force that it has been.
Yeah. A few people in chat saying Kimi was hit, what was he supposed to do? Well, the point is he pitted and changed tyres, so I expected more from that point. But obviously damage has made the difference. So, it's difficult on Bottas. I feel really bad because I think he should be driver of the day in many ways. But like you said, he should have come through the field quicker and expecting him to come through the field quicker. But I'm not going to criticise him because he's still gone from 17th to 4th. And that was kind of... That is still very, very impressive, even in a very fast car. But one man who I think deserves a lot of credit is Max Verstappen. 7th place in a car with an engine that's not been performing this weekend, all right, with a nice skinny rear wing. He goes and grabs a podium, Ellie, and I think he's really come on leaps and bounds this season is kind of what I'm getting at. When you go back to the first few races of the season, he was shocking in many ways. He was quick, but he was making so many mistakes. But since that incident in Monaco, he's like a whole other driver, but he's still got that aggressive edge to him and that fantastic way of overtaking. But he's now managed to balance that with more calculated passing, and he's delivering the results now, and he deserves a lot more credit than, quite frankly, I think he's getting.
Oh yeah, I agree totally. I think he's come on so much this year. I think he's really a bit underappreciated as a driver. He did very well to get to 3rd, I think, in a car that should not have been in 3rd. And if Bottas had been up there, he probably wouldn't have been on the podium. But Bottas wasn't up there, so he had to take hold of that opportunity. And it was amazing to watch all the fans that had come for him and how they reacted. And I think he thoroughly deserved the podium, and he thoroughly deserves a lot of credit for his drive this weekend.
Just back to Bottas for a second. He's been given a 5-second penalty for causing a collision on the opening lap, but it doesn't make any difference because he was 8 seconds clear of Perez. So just another penalty handed out there. Breaking over on Twitter. That was for the incident with Sergei Sorokin, I believe. Yes, it was. Yes. So he's got a penalty, but it makes absolutely no difference. And I don't know where I'm not having a moan today. It's been a long day in terms of streaming, but people in chat asking why I'm blaming Kimi for retiring. I'm not. And if you got that, then I can't help you. But anyway, so let's move on from that one. So Verstappen's drive today, Jonty, was sound, wasn't it, in many ways? And as me and Ellie have just said, deserves the credit for it. I know there's luck involved because some of the guys ahead of him retired, but, credit where credit's due.
Yeah, he did drive well. The move that he made on... Was it Ocon or Perez? I can't remember. I think it was Ocon. It was
yeah.
Really, really sweet move. Sort of little feint to the inside, came back and then went the inside anyway. That was great to see. But yeah, that's about all he could do though, because the front 2 were so far away. That was the best he could get out of it. So he kind of maximised his potential. I think that's the best way to look at it.
That move on Ocon, I said it during the watch along, and Verstappen said it after the race, just reminded me of their Euro F3 days. That was so good to watch. And at the same corner as well. Absolutely brilliant. Loved that. So really good result from him. Just going to pop the result back up actually for people that are maybe joining a little bit later. Pop it in the window there. So really good from him. But I think the story of the weekend, John T, it's got to be Force India. You know, Thursday officially, as I keep saying, they didn't exist. And they go off and pick up 18 points, 5th and 6th. I mean, that's even better. I know, again, there were retirements ahead of them, or that maybe drivers would have finished ahead of them, but that's still higher than I thought they were going to end up come the end of the race. And I think it's just the perfect weekend in so many ways for them.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a little bit lucky with Raikkonen and Ricciardo going out, who probably would have been ahead. But it's a great result for them, isn't it? 18 points after the first race. I mean, that's superb. They're already not last in the Constructors and have, I think it's like 450% the points that Williams have got in one day.
Wow. I love a good stat. Ocon said after the race that he thought, where is it? There it is, that he thought that they could finish in 8th place. That was their target for this season, for the rest of the season, was to get 8th in the Constructors. They're only a point off 8th place now, and you would probably say, with Monza coming up, Ellie, that they're going to be very, very strong there because it's very similar in that it's a power track. It'll be low downforce and all that, and they could be knocking on the door of 7th place by the time we even get to Singapore. It's been an incredible turnaround this weekend.
Oh yeah, I'm chuffed for them. I just can't get over how happy I am for them. They've just had a brilliant weekend, and I think Monza will work so well for them with the amount they have in straight line speed. Because you saw on the straights today, even against Verstappen, they were like getting, like Ocon especially was getting ahead, and then the time where they were 3 wide, and Ocon was 3 wide with the 2 Mercedes and the Ferrari, you could see that straight line speed was brilliant, and they're going to do so well, I think, in Monza, and I'm so excited to see how far they're going to progress because they're doing so well, and I'm so happy for them. I don't know if they're going to be as good when Lance Stroll jumps in the car, but we'll see.
We might discuss that on another stream, Ellie. I know you're quite a defender of Lance Stroll, a bit like I am at the minute, weirdly. But what I will say is, and we have to be honest, they are officially a new team, but they're not really, are they, John T? It's the same drivers, same chassis, same engine, so we shouldn't be surprised they're performing. It's just the fact that they've been put on the back foot in terms of the Constructors, and then they go and pick up the big points like this on a weekend where everything was in turmoil when they arrived in Belgium. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really is just a great end to the fairy tale. That's the only way that you can see it, in my opinion. Yeah, I'd go with that one. Running through the result, Haas, really good weekend for them in the end. Like I said, didn't expect it to be very quick after Friday. Maybe could have taken the fight to Force India a bit more, perhaps, John T, with that Ferrari power, but I think they'll be very happy with that. It's more points, isn't it, in that fight for 4th? Renault not scoring, of course.
Yeah, they should be happy with that. And double points finish again, sort of keeping that trend going that they've been managing to do. They're a very, very solid middle of the table, and I don't think anything's going to shift them from it yet, especially if that Ferrari power unit keeps developing the way it is.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Pierre Gasly, another one, Ellie, who's had a really good weekend, obviously going to Red Bull next season, we found out during the summer break. And I mean, what do you say? I mean, once again in the points in a Honda powered car at a power circuit. I mean, great result.
Yeah, really good result for him. I'm very happy for him. I think he's going to prove everyone wrong about him not being ready for Red Bull. I think he's ready for Red Bull, and I think with that experience of Honda on his side, he's going to be quite good, I think, with them next season. And we'll see. I think I'm very happy for him to get points, but it did mean I think Force India didn't get the place of, I think, 6th, 7th or something, because he scored points. But yeah, they should. I think they'll score more points and carry on scoring, and he'll prove that he should have the Red Bull seat next season.
Yeah, and then with Honda doing well on a power circuit, it'll ease some of those concerns for Red Bull next season with the Honda doing so well. So it's going to be. I'm looking forward to next year. Obviously, the rest of this year, of course, as well. But next year, I think it's going to be brilliant. So many questions. And Marcus Ericsson grabbing a point. Jonty, Discord will be over the moon. But that fighting between him and Brendan Hartley, that's what we tune in for, isn't it? Proper racing in the midfield.
Yeah, that was a great scrap that they had going for quite a while, and it looked pretty even. I think perhaps Ericsson showed himself to be a little bit better than Hartley today. Obviously, the cars are a little bit different, but he had the moves on him. He outsmarted him around the corners and in the braking zones.
Yeah, I mean, I say we tune in for the great midfield scraps. Obviously, we want the fighting at the front, but if we can't get that at the moment, then obviously the midfield it's fantastic as well. And great to see it on TV as well. We didn't see a lot in Canada. Renault, what do you say about Renault, John T? I mean, just as a whole, if you take Verstappen's result aside, they've been poor all weekend. And I think the only reason Red Bull were as competitive as they were was because of the low downforce setup. And Renault have just been surprisingly bad, I think, this weekend.
Yeah, they really have. I mean, Sainz's performance in qualifying aside, I don't think anyone really expected Renault to be that far off the rest of the midfield. And it's difficult to try and figure out what's going on there, because the power unit can't be too bad. Yes, Red Bull are running their super skinny downforce setup, but it's still power coming from a Renault unit.
Yeah, absolutely true. I mean, I just thought I'd get more. I thought Sainz, to be so far off a points paying position as well in the works Renault, I just expected more. I mean, he's disappointed me as a whole this weekend, and that's not something Carlos Sainz tends to do. I think he's been a bit average this season, but you look back at maybe last year, he was really good, and just disappointing for them, if I'm being completely honest. But Williams, 12th and 13th, yes, with retirements, but they were quite racy today, weren't they, John T? I was quite impressed with them in many ways.
I was getting quite concerned in the first few laps because they were getting really, really racy with each other. It's like, oh, come on, guys, you really don't, you have no idea about how important this performance is for Williams. Don't crash into each other, for God's sake.
Yeah, because I thought Sorokin was on for points. I really did. He was scrapping for those points paying positions, and it all kind of fell apart in many ways. So yeah, but I feel bad because 12th to 13th is a good result, but for Williams, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And Sorokin was on for points at one point, but they don't have the pace to get that far.
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? But positive signs, I suppose, is one way to look at it. Yeah, I'd go with that for Williams. But I will say, disappointed in Brendan Hartley today. You all right, Ellie?
Oh God, 1 second. I've got to sort this out.
All right,
One sec.
I'll move you out a second, and we'll do that. Sorry about that. Yeah, Brendan Hartley looked good in qualifying, John T. Needed a good weekend and didn't really deliver in the race in the end, despite that great fighting with Marcus Ericsson. But I mean, is it progress for him? I mean, I still feel like he's fairly safe in that seat. So as long as he keeps it clean and gets to the end of these races and he's consistent in his pace, he should be all right. But I kind of would like to have seen him up there with Gasly today.
He could have done with being a bit quicker and a bit closer to Gasly, yeah, but he has kept it fairly steady. His pace overall wasn't that far away. He may have relaxed a little bit, so he's not pushing as hard, and now he thinks that he may be a tad safer.
Yeah. That's a good point, actually, perhaps, yeah. But I just would like to see him get a bit closer to Gasly. Obviously, it's still a way to go this season, so he's been all right. But McLaren, even Alonso's incident aside, at the start of the race, they were awful this weekend. There's no other word for it. There was, if Alonso can't drag that car to a decent lap, then nobody can. And that's, again, not a knock at Van Dorn. I think that McLaren, it seems to be going backwards race on race at the minute.
Yeah, definitely. They were very, very slow in qualifying. Van Dorn was nowhere. Alonso wasn't exactly that far ahead of the Williams. Yeah, where do you go? I mean, what can they do to try and fix this?
I think this is why I feel for Van Dorn. You can be critical of him because his performances haven't been amazing. Been all right, but they haven't been amazing. But he's not been given the car to perform. We know from what Alonso said that he's not getting the same equipment anyway. So, for people, I think Ted said it, a really miserable day for Van Dorn. He's had a bad weekend. I mean, what can he do? If the car's crap, quite frankly, and he's not getting parity with his teammate, there's not really anything he can do other than just get it to the finish of races.
Yeah, exactly. And the worrying thing is that the way that they're going at the moment, the constant decline, I can only see it being 1 or 2 races before they're getting out-qualified and outperformed on Sunday by Williams. That's how bad their decline has been over the last few races.
It'd be crazy, wouldn't it? But it is a decline. I mean, what's your take, Ellie, on the McLaren situation, and in particular this weekend? I was just saying to Jonty, they've been so poor in Belgium.
I'm very disappointed, really disappointed. They've been awful in Belgium. It feels like we were there, like at the start of the season, it went so well. It was going so well for them. And then suddenly it's like, now we're not getting anything. It just seems to be going increasingly worse. And I have my opinions on whose fault that is. But I'm just so disappointed. It's been an awful time for them in Belgium, especially Stoffel Van Dorn. He's had a very bad weekend.
Are you one of these that thinks that... I'm going to push you now for it, aren't I? One of these that thinks that Alonso needs to take responsibility for what's happening at the team?
In a way, yeah. I think he is part to play. I think he has Zach Brown tied around his little finger. I think Zach Brown will do anything to please him, and I think that is just not how it should be in a team. Because I'm not a big fan of Zach Brown. I do not think Zach Brown should be team principal. I don't think Jules de Fern should be in there either. I'm not a big fan. I think they need somebody else in there. He just doesn't cut it for me. And I do think Alonso is part to play, but I don't think you can blame it all on Alonso. It isn't all his fault that this is happening.
Yeah, I mean, on the team principal thing, Jonty, you got your tinfoil hat out the other day, didn't you? And mentioned Bob Fernley when it came to McLaren. He's free now.
Yeah, he's a free agent now. He's stepped down from deputy team principal at Force India as a result of all the shuffles going on with the buyout. So why not make the step up to full team principal, build that team up from the bottom? He's not exactly been doing a bad job at Force India now, has he?
No, he did all right. I did say actually the other day, I'm a little bit off topic from the race, that Bob Fernley was leaving Force India. What's actually come out is he was leaving anyway, apparently. That was already happening regardless of what went on. So it's a shame because I like Bob Fernley. I'm quite a fan of his. So, but I'm sure he'll find himself into somewhere eventually. He absolutely will. So what I'm going to do now, before we get on to driver of the day, which is where I'm going to come to the chat as well. But first of all, chat, earlier up on Twitter, I obviously posted the regular, I guess it is now, the 3-word race report. So you can start popping yours in the chat. I'm going to read some of them out. Jonty's comes up first for me. It says no more predictions. We need to stop. We need to go back to what we were doing before, Jonty, and saying that the race will be rubbish, even if we think it'll be good.
Absolutely.
Depression time, Ricardo says Haley. 40 boring laps, says Tristan. Ferrari power advantage, says Fred. I'll just say Fred. Let's have a look through. I've got loads on here. Jonathan says Halo, Halo, Halo. Technically one word 3 times, but I'll let you off. Robert says one good lap. Yeah. David Fitzgerald, Halo saved Leclerc. Half a lap race, says Origin of Chaos. Sports Freak, lap 1 carnage. The Halo works, says Jason Turford. I'm not going to read any more of the Halo ones because there's loads in here. Again, SBC hasn't watched yet, so sorry if you're tuning in and we're ruining it for you. Williams last again, says Callum Daly. I assume that means in the championship. That was dull, great and boring. Vettel's good start. I'll read it. That's Radion, actually. Ferrari rave mode. Singapore all again. Oh, poor Charles. Kind of fizzled out. I think that's a good way of putting it, actually, to be honest, Jonty. It was a fairly good start, and we got some good scrapping. That 4 wide, by the way, up at Lake Com. Jesus, was my heart in my mouth at that moment. That was brilliant, those 2 Force Indias. But, yeah, kind of fizzled out. That's a good one.
Oh, I was gutted that Ocon had Vettel there. He was alongside. He just had to be super brave on the brakes, and it would have been a bit of a dive because the Force India is never going to be as good on the brakes as that Ferrari, but I wish he'd have gone for it.
Exciting, intriguing, boring, says Tane Dog. I'm guessing that's the stages of the race, because if it's all of those at once, then it's, yeah. Ferrari are back, the Flying Spaniard. Couple more then, the F1 word. Thank you very much. Lap 1 craziness, 1 lap thrills, and one more. Flying start Alonso. All right, we'll have that one. Let's go to chat and see what you guys are saying. Loads of chat interactions today. I've not stopped talking to you, but I'm doing your head in. I'm doing mine. Let's have a look what we got. I'm going to go right to the top and see what we can find in here. What the hell, says Rico. First turn only, says Joseph Scott. Grazie ragazzi, Seb. I can never say that. Praise the Halo, says Josh. Canada Part 2, Mario Master. It's not that bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad as Canada was awful. My God. Lewis is worried, says Ben. His comments afterwards certainly point that way, don't they? So, proof for Halo, 1 lap race. Great race overall. Spa 2012 replay, a good start. Vettel for 5. Lewis giving up, question. That's maybe one for a stream on Wednesday, possibly, John. So we'll discuss that with whoever's on with us. Then Renault is slow, McLaren is bad. They kind of come together there. Ferrari officially the best. Sauber don't capitalise. Yeah, but I don't really think they could take too much blame given that they lost a driver in turn 1 through no fault there. And I get what you're saying. Now, Ericsson probably could have finished higher. He had the pace. Will it rain was all I kept getting asked in the watch along. No, it didn't. Lots of orange and a couple more. Ferraris to lose is a popular one. Actually, seen that a couple of times. And one more. Typical F1 race. That'll do. That's not a bad one. But we've had
there was
yours.
one I spotted.
Oh, go on.
Well, no, Dan's in the chat. He's saying preferred summer break.
It did seem to be a lot more drama, didn't there? But you've done yours, Jonty, technically, but I'm still going to make you do another one. 3-word race report.
Debut of dreams.
You all poetic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Ellie, your 3-word race report?
Oh, I don't have one, but I'm going to go with that was really boring.
I can maybe. That's really, yeah, we could. Oh, that's as good as 3. I'll let you have that one. Could be better, I suppose, is what I'd go for, or something like that, or not worth wait in some respects, or overhyped, I suppose, is only one word, but we kind of gave it all that. But we're going to be going to chat again. Mods are going to hate me by the end of today because I forgot to turn slow mode on again. Sebastian Vettel won the official driver of the day, Jonty. Do you think that's a fair one? It was a well-managed race, wasn't it?
Yeah, he did. He ended up having a great restart, even though he didn't set it up well. But after that, he was just gone, and no one could touch him. So it's fairly accurate.
Yeah, do you agree, Ellie? Do you think that's a good choice from those that voted?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good choice. I don't want a driver of the day. I want a team of the day because I wanted to give it all to Force India because I was so happy for them. I was like tweeting about this constantly. But Sebastian Vettel's the fair one. He had a very brilliant race.
Would he be your driver of the day, or would you pick somebody else, Ellie?
I'm stuck between one of the Force India boys. I'm just like, I think they deserve it because they've been through hell and back, especially Ocon. I think the fact he probably won't have a seat by Singapore. I mean, he's probably going to McLaren anyway. He had a brilliant drive and a brilliant qualifying, just a brilliant weekend.
What about you, Jonty? Your driver of the day?
Even though I said he should have been quicker, probably Bottas, because he has had to fight through with some damage to his car, and he did still get it up to 4th.
It's hard not to say. I think you're struggling like I am a little bit. Maybe a little bit more, could have got there quicker, but at the same time, he has still overtaken a fair few cars. So it's difficult. As usual, I'm going to go a little bit more into the midfield and have a look around there rather than at the front end of the grid. But I think Gasly deserves a shout, and Romain Grosjean as well was pretty solid. But I can't go Marcus Ericsson. Discord will kill me if I don't. But I'm going to say, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to have to think about it overnight. But I think Grosjean deserves a shout for his drive. He was pretty solid. Gasly was consistent again. He deserves a shout. Bottas has to be in there, and you've got to throw Vettel in there for how well the race was managed. But it's actually quite a tricky one because there were a lot of solid performances, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jonty, maybe I'm going to sound a bit harsh. I don't think there was any standout performer.
No, everyone was pretty much doing their stuff. No one really had to make super dangerous moves or super daring moves, sorry, or make up crazy amounts of time. So, yeah, it is a tricky one. I'll agree.
Let me know in chat who your driver of the day is. I'll read a few of them out as we go through. We're going to get to Q&A in a moment as well.
One point I'd like to make, a few people in chat have been asking about Jane Bear's tweets. If you missed it, I should explain. He's been at a friend's wedding today as a groomsman, so he's actually scheduled tweets to go out automatically. So that's what you were reading. That's why they all seem so crazy.
Yeah,
we'll get him on to explain his actions at some point.
Yeah, get him on next week's in the debrief to get him to explain what's going on. He's not gone crazy. Well, based on some of the memes we saw over the summer break, he might have done, but maybe not with the tweets. But yeah, they were quite funny to read throughout the race. Kept me going, as did chat as well. JJ Trainer says Max is his driver of the day. Yeah, we forgot Max. I mean, 7th to 4th, 3rd rather, Yeah, right, Bottas might have got him had he got through quicker, but still a really good drive. Ryan M says Bottas, a few saying a safety car driver, Bert Mylander. Roman Grosjean says Rico. King Marcus says Fly Zone. It's King Marcus of Ericsson, actually. But yes, I'll let you have King Marcus. Sorokin, Checo. I think there's going to be a lot of love for Force India in terms of driver of the day. Perez, Hulkenberg. He gave the drama. Perez, Ocon, Gasly. Yeah, I did quite a lot. I think people maybe kind of what I was saying there, Jonty, no real big standout performer. So you're sort of looking for a solid one. Checo or Seb, Sergio Perez, Vettel. Yeah, it's a real mix in that chat. Nice to see, actually, because it means that although the race wasn't thrilling, we've got a good mix of opinions. So really sound. If you're watching this video or this after it's gone up, do let me know your driver of the day in the comment section. We can take a few of your questions before we disappear. I'd love to sit here and talk for another hour about the race, but I don't think I can stretch the race to another 3 minutes because the following, other than going over the first corner accident again, Jonty, I can't really think of anything else that really happened.
No, it wasn't really that eventful.
Got that first corner accident, that 4 wide at the start, Vettel getting past Hamilton maybe not making that move in the bus stop or getting a bit closer to Vettel on the restart. That was kind of it for the lead, and then you're just waiting for Verstappen to get himself up to 3rd with some good scrapping, to be fair, really good fight with Ocon, and you're kind of waiting for Bottas to get through the field, and you're sort of watching Raikkonen with his issues. He ends up retiring, and Ricciardo, will we get a safety car to unlap himself? That was it. I felt for Ricciardo today as well, Jonty. I've got to say, I thought, yeah, he really was unlucky in that. He hit Raikkonen he had his issues as well. He was hit from behind. Just wrong place, wrong time a little bit for him and Kimi as well.
Yeah, very much so. I think one other point that could be made about the race, which is a point that's been made before, is Pirelli making the wrong choices of which tyres to bring again. Because we had the softest of the 3 compounds doing 23, 24 laps.
Yeah, they didn't skip a compound either, did they? Which was disappointing. I'd like to have seen that, but I think, yeah, it's a good point. I mean, the blistering, I have to say, Ellie, on those Mercedes, Hamilton said after the race, they were worried at Mercedes with that blistering. Was it Hamilton or was it Toto? It was one of them. They were concerned with the blistering. I was quite surprised how bad they were, but I think they could have been more risky on the tyres, couldn't they? Gone a little bit more aggressive, Pirelli.
Oh yeah, they definitely could have gone a lot more aggressive, and I think there was blistering on his rear tyres on Hamilton's, and Bono said to him, "Oh, are the tyres okay?" And he was like, "Yeah, the tyres are good." And I was like, "Are you sure? There's massive blisters on the tyres," and I think they made a very choice with it. They could have gone a lot. They could have bought the ultra softs as they have been doing, instead of bringing the super softs. I think that would have made a more interesting race, and it would have made a better qualifying possibly. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to take a couple of questions now before we go. First one from Gaines. I'm just calling it Gaines. Could Lewis have undercut Seb if he had a pit 2 laps earlier? I'm not convinced, Jonty, because I think Ferrari were waiting for Mercedes to make that pit stop, and if Hamilton had pitted 2 laps earlier, Vettel would have still pitted the following lap.
Yeah, we can say Ferrari would have reacted, but sometimes they tend to stick to their own strategy regardless. However, it wouldn't have made any difference, even if he had been able to undercut by pitting earlier. Vettel would have caught and passed him.
Yeah, just quick enough today, weren't they, Ferrari? I know that's not going to go down well, but they were, and we've seen that plenty of times over the last 4 years that Mercedes have been the quicker team and have just destroyed everybody. So we've definitely got a fight on between now and the end of the season. Looking forward to it. Josh says, does the rumour of Perez to Haas have any merit? As far as I understand it, no. I think that deal for him to stay at Force India is pretty much done. I've not seen anything to say any different, Ellie.
No, I think if I'm right, I saw an article the other day saying he's pretty much signed the contract. He's signed. They're just waiting for the announcement to come out. I predicted him to go to Haas ages ago, but he won't be going to Haas. It's looking more likely it'll be Leclerc if anybody's going to Haas now. So yeah, I think he'll stay. He's staying at Force India.
Here's a good one for you, Jonty. I know you'll like this one. Comes from Chris Downing. Should they let the teams choose the tyre compounds?
Yeah, it'd be worth a try. I don't see why not. We'd probably see a lot of the teams all choosing the same thing, probably going with the softest compound possible. But anything's worth a try. Maybe they could somehow do it in testing.
Yeah. I was going to say the teams have all the data, but Pirelli will obviously have all the data as well. So that's a ridiculous point, Sean. But, like you say, give it a go. Why not? It either goes wrong or it works brilliantly. So an F1 just seems to throw things at the minute, and if it sticks, then they tend to go with it. So why not? But Sean, do you think
there's lots?
No,
sorry, I was going to say there's lots of suggestions that people have made, and the easiest one is just enforce the use of all three compounds.
That does throw out some good racing. We've seen that this year, haven't we? A few times when three compounds have been used.
Yeah, just make a rule that they have to use each compound once in the race. They can do it in any order they like. Give them free choice of tyre at the start.
Salah Game says, Sean, do you think there will be a new Halo design in 2019? No, I don't. I know they're looking at improving what they have at the moment and making it more aesthetically pleasing and better as well. So, as I said earlier, this Halo is the first step. It's kind of Gen 1, if you like. They're looking at Gen 2. But I think I'd be surprised, given the rule changes next year, Jonty and Ellie, if we'll see anything in terms of a Halo change before 2021.
No, there won't be a change in the Halo. Not a chance. Not a chance.
No, not yet. There will be down the line, but not yet.
Good question from Cravone Gaming. Will McLaren be fighting for the championship within the next 10 years, in your opinion? I'm going to put you right on the spot, Ellie, and come straight to you on that one.
As a girl who grew up watching McLaren win, I don't think they will. I think with 2021 coming, I think that's their best chance, but I just don't think it's going to be a customer team thing to be able to win them as much anymore. I wish they would, but I just don't think they are, especially if they, in my opinion, if they keep Zeta Brown around, they're not going to be winning championships in the next 10 years. I wish they were, but I just don't think they are.
Yeah, I've got a couple of... I agree. I want to see McLaren up there. For the same reason I want every single team to be up there. I want us. It's never going to happen before you attack me in chat on it. I know, but I'd love to see 20 drivers going toe to toe for the world title every year. So the more teams that are up there, the better. But I don't see it. A couple of donations coming through. Umbrex says, "Make it happen." I will. I'll try my best to. Thank you very much for your contribution, mate. Losing my voice very slowly. Imagine all of your subscribers gave you just £2, says Victor Philo. Yeah, that'll do. I'll take that. I'll split that with you, Jonty. But yeah, thank you very much for your contribution, mate. I really do appreciate that. Which car manufacturer would you like to see in F1? Oh, I'd quite like Porsche, if I'm being honest. I don't know about you, Jonty.
Porsche would be the logical option because they've got the most experience with the hybrid systems from all the time in Le Mans. But I'd love to see a name like Aston in it. I'd love to see Ford in it. That would probably be the biggest name. Ford gave us so much in F1 throughout the years. It's a shame that they're not there now.
If I could pick a privateer, if you like, engine to come in, sort of like an independent engine is probably a better word, I'd love Cosworth back. Like you said, they're the most successful in the sport's history. Am I wrong on that, Jonty?
No, absolutely right. The most successful Formula One engine of all time is the old V8 from the 70s.
Yeah, bring Cosworth back. Definitely like I want. ST's made a couple of contributions. Says he'll follow up on those. Thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate that. Does Van Dorn still have a future in Formula One? I'm going to come to you two on that, starting with you, Ellie, because I think I've said enough on Van Dorn and keep getting myself in trouble. So,
by the looks of things, he does. There's a lot of rumours, and it's racefans.net, and I'm just trusting them on everything they're saying. It looks like he's got a future with Sauber, and it's rather random, but it could happen. But if he doesn't go to Sauber, I don't think he has. I think Ocon's stolen his seat. If anyone has taken it, it's Ocon.
what about you, John T?
With the rumours that are coming out from race fans, which tend to work out true, he's probably the most at risk right now. So I'm concerned for his future.
I'm not going to say too much on it, but I'm going to throw a spanner in the works to the racefans.net rumour. Not to say that it's not true, but apparently, according to Ted Kravitz in his pit thing afterwards, and a couple of other people over on social media, some articles saying it, apparently Ocon will not fit in that McLaren this year because it is built around Van Dorn Alonso and he's too tall. So if he does go to McLaren, he can't be there until 2019 unless they make huge structural changes to the car, which they're not going to do with 8 races to go. So it looks like Van Dorn will probably see the season out at McLaren and then maybe Ocon to McLaren for 2019 and Van Dorn to Sauber.
Yeah, I've heard he doesn't fit in the McLaren. I've heard it said on that racefans.net article, I think, that he does not fit in that McLaren, and because he's way too tall for it. And I think we are going to see. I've heard from a source that we will see Stroll in that Force India sooner rather than later. So it could be a straight swap to Williams. I don't know. Wolf says there's a lot of teams interested in him, but I think it will be 2019 if we're going to see an Ocon in that car.
I'll be surprised if we don't see Stroll in that Force India for Monza. I will be, and I'm going to use a great word here, flabbergasted. I'll be gobsmacked if he's not in for Singapore. He's got to be there, has he, John T? And that's from a financial point of view for Lawrence Stroll. Yes, he's got the money, but why keep giving Williams money to keep him in the car if you've then got a team you can stick him in for, not free, but not having to hand money to somebody else?
It would make sense from a business point of view. It's just a case of what's in the contractual obligations of his drive at Williams. You know, would Lawrence have to pay a lot of money to get him out of the seat?
Good point. Yeah, I know that he was talking about paying up the contract to the end of the year. That's not going to be cheap, is it? But yeah, I expect him in sooner rather than later. But I think Ocon's short-term future is looking bleak. But he said afterwards he was quite confident his medium to long-term. So we might lose Ocon for the rest of this season, but I'm pretty sure he will be on the grid next year. But then I was fairly certain Wehrlein was going to get a shot somewhere. But based on what Mercedes was saying, more than anything, Mercedes were quite, we will get Wehrlein a seat, we're trying everything, and they're saying the same for Ocon. It just worries me. We might be going down the same route because it'd be a huge loss and he's got a great future. So hopefully all will get sorted. Going to take a couple more before we go. Just in case my voice disappears, it could all happen. If Ocon does move to McLaren, asked Metal Gear Solid Snake, do you think he will beat Sainz? Based on the form that Sainz is showing this year, possibly. In fact, you'd probably say yes, but I tell you what, it's a tasty lineup, and that will be close, won't it, Jonty, between them two, whichever way you go?
Yeah. The only problem is that that's the only fighting they'll be doing at this rate.
What about you, Ellie? Do you like the idea of Ocon and Sainz together at McLaren?
Yeah, I think it's a good lineup. I think it's a good pace. I think Ocon could edge Sainz out, just slightly, but I think it would be a very good lineup, and I'd hope it'd kind of raise them through the ranks a bit.
It'd be interesting to see, won't it? It's Ricardo Hülkenberg, Verstappen, Gasly, and if he goes there, Ocon and Sainz. They are 3 great fights to keep an eye on because that's 3 very good drivers, and it's going to be fascinating, particularly those moving teams in terms of Ricardo to Renault and Gasly to Red Bull. You know, can they beat the established drivers that are already there. I'm really looking forward to that. I really, really am. It's going to be great. Well, like I keep saying, let's get this season out of the way first. Enjoy the rest of it. It's a few more twists and turns. Just looking for one more question before we disappear. I try to avoid silly season stuff, but that's kind of all people are talking about at the moment.
I've got one.
Go on then.
It's one of those good old days ones. But Metal Gear Solid Snake says, what race do you three think was the craziest you've ever seen? Spa 98, or is there crazier out there? Oh, there's crazier. Yeah, Spa 98 had the insane start crash, but the rest of the race only had a few incidents, which were, again, crazy, but they were kind of spread out. You want to go and watch Monaco 96 or Brazil 2003?
I'd probably say Canada 2011. Maybe. I might be alone on that. What about you, Ellie? Can you think of a really crazy race?
I'd have to say Canada 2011, because it's like I said today about MotoGP being cancelled, really random and off topic, but I said, is the rain Canada 2011 kind of rain? And if it's not, then you race. If it is, you don't race. And Canada 2011 for me, out of the ones I've seen, because I didn't see the one in 98 in Spa, and I'd have to say for me it's Canada 2011.
I'm going to throw Nürburgring 2007, a couple in chat saying it. Definitely throw that in there. But
hashtag Winklehawk.
Yep, absolutely. Legend. One race and he's a legend. But simply because it was so, not chaotic, but a race of attrition, and even the commentators really struggled. And I forgot how much went on in that race. Australia 99 was quite a bizarre race. The McLarens, who should have been dominating, were all over the place. Schumacher's stalling on the grid. The Stewarts catching fire at the start, both of them simultaneously. That was chaos.
That was hilarious. It was really bad for such a new team, but it was hilarious. It was so well in time.
It was. It's just, I think commentary, Herbert's on fire. Barrichello's on fire as well. What's going on? And then it was just chaos from there on in, and nobody really knew what was going on. But I'm going to end on... Go on, John, say quick.
So I was just going to say a quick mention, rightly so, for USA 2005. It wasn't exactly filled with incident, but it was particularly crazy.
Yeah, bizarre. I think it's a great way to put it. I think all of it was the build up to the race. It was chaos. But I'm going to end very, very quickly and come to you both for a one-name answer. Your Monza predictions. Who's going to win it in Italy? Come to you first, Ellie.
Vettel.
Jonty?
Raikkonen.
Okay. You throw me with Raikkonen there. I don't know. I thought you were going to go with Vettel. Yeah, I mean, he's in arguably the fastest car on the grid, so he's got to be in with a shout. But be interesting one. I have to say, it's going to be an emotional weekend in Monza, given obviously the passing of Sergio Marchionne. So big weekend for Ferrari, and I think they're going to want the 1-2 that weekend to really remember him. A lot of people in chat giving their predictions, but we're going to leave it there. Jonty and Ellie, thank you very much, Ellie, for joining us. Just glad we sorted out all of those technical issues and you could join us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
No worries, thank you. And Jonty, as ever, mate, thank you very much for everything this weekend. It's been a fun one, even if the race wasn't amazing.
Yeah, it's been interesting, and now we've both got 5 days to recover before the next lot.
Hopefully my voice will more or less return. I don't really want to say stuff over hand on again, which is embarrassing earlier. But anyway, thank you very much, guys. I'll talk to you both in a bit, I'm sure.
Goodbye.
Yes, bye-bye. Thank you to both Ellie and to Jonty for joining me. It was a pleasure, as I say, to get them both on. And thanks to you guys for everything this weekend. Lots of content, as always. But it's all the same. For Monza, we've got the Belgian Grand Prix race review, which will be up tomorrow. Tuesday's content will all come down to whether or not my voice has completely come back or not. I may not upload, but I will be live Monday to Friday, 8 p.m. for F1 Daily, of course. And then next weekend, we've got the qualifying watch along, the qualifying report, the race watch along, and of course the race debrief as well. In the meantime, though, you can follow me on social media. Links to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and to Discord are all in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.